Good afternoon and welcome to the Preferred Experience podcast. This is a podcast we do every week at CrossFit Preferred that's all about improving yourself through fitness and how that carries over into all areas of your life. So today the topic's going to be consistency matters. And as we have been through this fun time right now that we're all going through, there's been a lot of people, it's been pretty hard for them to get their workouts in and, a lot of things that have come up and we're just thrown off. Our schedules are thrown off and everything. And consistency is just like we got to keep a routine going. Even when things get thrown off, we almost have to expect that things are going to get thrown off in life because it's just what happens. Hopefully we won't go through this kind of a time again in our lifetimes, but there's a good chance it could happen, or we'll go through something else completely different that'll be similar, that'll throw off our routine. And I'm a huge fan of a guy named Jocko Willink. He's a retired Navy SEAL, and I guess I'm getting excited as I'm talking about him. But I really like all that he's done. He's a retired Navy SEAL, owns multiple businesses. He owns a jiu-jitsu gym in California, owns a business leadership company called Echelon Front. He's written multiple books. I think pretty positive I own every single one of them, including a new one that came out this week called The Code that I'm really excited to dig into. One of them that I'm going to talk about today in just a minute is the Discipline Equals Freedom Field Manual. And it's a really cool book. It's the type of book you'd keep on a coffee table, and just has tons of different things about all the different areas in our lives that we may not keep the discipline going. And just a really cool book. Love this book. When I feel like I need a little extra motivation, I will look through this book and it'll help get me going. So I was checking it out this morning and thought about it for this podcast, and I'm excited to share something with you. But there's a lot of times we're not going to feel like working out or doing something we need to do for work or something we need to do in our families. And a lot of times we just have to start doing it. And years ago, I guess about 8 years, how long has it been now? About 9 years since I've done a full Ironman. I've done 2 full Ironmans and multiple half Ironmans and tons of other endurance events over the years, adventure racing and stuff with SilFit. A lot of people that know me already know that. But it's something that when I would train for an Ironman, as you get closer to the race, you start to build up to some really high mileage training. The bike ride in an Ironman's 112 miles. And so we would train over 100 miles just for our training rides, at least a few times before the race. And before that, we would build up to that. So, a lot of 60, 80 mile rides and then get up over 100. Most I've ever done is like 120 miles on a ride. And a lot of the times I would go out by myself because I work Saturdays, and most of my friends that would be training for the races, they could only go on Saturday. So I'd go do these long rides all by myself. I wouldn't bring headphones because I didn't feel it was safe. And as I would start some of those rides before the sun was even up, 5 in the morning or earlier, I wouldn't want to go. I'd just be like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? How am I going to ride this many miles today? And all I would do is I'd just start pedaling and just get going. And I feel like as I did that, the ride would get over, or I'd get further into it and I'd start to enjoy it. I'd be out in a really cool area. I'd always ride out towards like Four Peaks or through Saguaro Lake, and just always really scenic rides, and really grew to appreciate the desert. Just loved it out there, and I still do. We have some really pretty areas that we live in, and it was great training. So as I'd get going, it would get a lot better. The ride would end, 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours later. I was a lot faster than I am right now. But I went on a bike ride the other day, and hadn't been in quite a while, and I really enjoyed it. So I may have to start working that in. The assault bikes are fun, but I love getting out just out in the desert and different areas and exploring. So, but the one thing I wanted to share with you, I'm going to read from a book. I'm going to try and keep it exciting. I just really like what he says, and I don't think I could say it better. So he says, this is the section, not feeling it. And I'll spare you my Jocko Willink voice. But he says, how do I handle those days when I'm just not feeling it? Those days when I'm tired or worn out or just sick of the grind. What do I do on those days? I go anyway. I get it done. Even if I'm just going through the motions, I go through the motions. Don't really want to work out? I work out. Don't really want to hammer on a project? I hammer on the project. Don't really want to get up and get out of bed? I get up and get out of bed. Now, these could be signals that you need some time off, and those signals might be right. But don't take today off. Wait until tomorrow. Don't give in to the immediate gratification that is whispering in your ear. Shut that down. Do not listen. Instead, go through the motions. Lift the weights, sprint the hill, work on the project, get out of bed. I don't like procrastination, but if you feel like you need a break, that is one thing you should procrastinate. Taking a break is the one thing I put off until tomorrow. And if when tomorrow comes, you still feel like you need rest or you need a break, then go ahead, take it. Chances are you won't. You won't need that rest. Chances are you will realize that the desire to rest was just weakness. It was the desire to take the path of least resistance, the downhill path, the downward path. And by going through the motions, you overcame that weakness, and you stayed on the righteous path, the disciplined path. You stayed on the war path, right where you know you belong. So, a lot of times it's easy when you're tired to be like, I'm not going to go train today. But we can't make that decision when we're tired, when we're weak. We have to decide that the night before. And so I love that he teaches that we need to decide the night before, or maybe the night after we didn't want to get up. And really we just need to go through the motions sometimes. That motion of going through my bike ride each day or each week when I'd go out on those long rides, once I got in that motion, I started to feel better. I didn't feel like, I can't do this today. I got it done. And I was able to train and get through those races. And I know that you can too. It just takes consistency. And as we are getting ready for the summer, all this stuff's going to end that we're going through, and we're going to move on, and we're going to have a great summer. We're going to want to feel good and look good. And that consistency that you're putting in right now with the at-home workouts and the different workouts that you're doing on your own, they're going to really pay off. And that consistency is really going to matter. And I challenge you, when you're feeling tired, to go through the motions, get working out, and I promise you, you'll feel a lot better. And if you need that break, don't be afraid. Don't feel bad about taking a break, but decide that the night before you go, or decide it later. Come up with a plan on when you do those breaks, and you'll be way better off for it. But that is my message today, our podcast for the week. And get after it. I know you can just keep going and getting better during this time. This is just a good time to learn more about ourselves and about all those that we are around. And when we get to all be back together here in the gym, and we get to be around our family and friends a little more, go to restaurants, go to movies, train, do all those things that we enjoy doing normally, it's going to make it so much better. And I challenge you to get going and think about what you can do today that is going to keep your consistency going. And that's it. I hope you guys have a great week, and hope you got something out of this podcast. If you did, please subscribe so that you know that we have these each week. You can subscribe on YouTube. You can subscribe on any of your favorite podcast channels. And if you do me a huge, huge favor, if you'll leave a review, this will help a lot of your friends to know about it too, and family, and it'll make a big difference. My goal with this Preferred Experience podcast is to help the members of our gym and also their friends and family. So I'm hoping that this will make a difference, and I sure appreciate all of you. And I hope you have a great week. Thanks a lot, and we will see you later.